What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I know it's Saturday. I said I was not going to put out a video on Saturday and Sunday, but every week, and especially this last week, there was just so much stuff going on. This is a story that I didn't address, so I want to address that today. And so in this video, we're going to talk about the student loan forgiveness, what's going on with that. It was struck down on Thursday, and so we're going to get into it and really talk about this because this is all political. Okay, this is Republicans against Democrats. That's all it's about. But the American people who have student loans right now are suffering. And so we're going to talk about that. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. We do daily videos. So by clicking all, you should be getting updated every day with a new video. Okay, let's take a look. Let me get over to my desktop here. And so this is CNN. Now, if you guys know me, I look at all the different news outlets. I don't just look at CNN. I'll look at CNN. I'll look at MSNBC. I'll look at Fox. I'll look at the, Axios. I'll look at all the different platforms out there, Reuters and everything. So I just saw this on CNN, so I wanted to go off this one for today. But basically it says what student loan borrowers need to know after federal court struck down Biden's forgiveness program. Okay, so the big issue, and there are a couple of issues that's been talked about. And if you guys remember, President Biden, it took him a long time to come to this point where he did this executive order for student loan forgiveness. And part of the reason for that is because he was trying to see if there are any legal issues when it comes to doing this executive order. And the problem that the president was looking at and what the administration was looking at is the fact that you have a separation of powers. So you have the executive branch, you have the judicial branch, you have the legislative branch. And when it comes to anything that has money tied to it, the legislative branch needs to play a role in this, or at least that's the way, that's the argument right now, that Congress needs to play a role when it comes to this situation. And so that's why you've had these different lawsuits that have come out against this student loan forgiveness. Now, when I say it's political, I'm saying it's political because if I can guarantee you, if Republicans came up with this idea, and let's say President Trump, when he was president, said, I'm going to do an executive order to cancel student loan debt, you would have Democrats against that, okay? And now we're seeing Democrats do it, so of course Republicans are going to be against it. And they're trying to fight to not allow this student loan debt to be forgiven. And I had mixed feelings about this, and I've talked about this before because I was one of those people who had student loan debt, $30,000. I ended up paying it off. So I didn't, I'm not a part of this student loan forgiveness, but I'm not upset with people for wanting to get their student loans forgiven. I'm not upset with that because we have a lot of situations where corporations can do it, businesses can do it. And so why couldn't we allow this for the American people, people who have student loan debt? And I know you can say, well, people who are, tax dollars are going to be going towards this. Well, your tax dollars go towards these companies as well. We just saw the airline industry, and I've talked about this over and over again. The airline industry last year was bailed out. Actually, the last couple of years, they were getting all these different bailouts. And the American tax dollars are going towards these bailouts. And guess what? Now the airline industry is charging you 2 or 3 times as much to travel to some of these different destinations. So it's like they're trying to recoup all their money, trying to get all their money back. So they got the tax dollars to get bailed out, and now they're charging you an arm and a leg, and they're canceling flights. I mean, it's just it was really bad over the summer, but it's still around. And if you look at the CPI score, and I always look at the CPI score, and I go down and I look at airline travel, and I see that category is always in the 30s, 40s, 50% increase. And so it's really, it's one of those deals where, yes, you can have issues with the student loan forgiveness and say, well, I shouldn't have to, my tax dollars shouldn't have to go to forgive these student loans. But guess what? Your tax dollars are going to forgive a lot of stuff that you probably don't agree with. There are a lot of people right now that don't agree with sending money to Ukraine, but money's going to Ukraine. There's a lot of people that don't agree with a lot of different things where, money goes to different places. But guess what? It's going to those places. I do want to take a look at some of this stuff that's on here because I think it's pretty interesting. The argument, and like I said, the main argument is, does Congress need to be involved in this? Do they need to give their approval for this to happen? And so right now, they didn't, right? Because you had the executive order. The president put the executive order in place saying he's going to cancel student loan debt, $10,000 or $20,000, depending on if you have the Pell Grant. So that's one of the arguments. That's the argument up here, okay? And this is coming from the HEROES Act, and that's where that's the argument for allowing this to happen, allowing for the cancellation. And so this federal judge struck it down on Thursday in Texas. And so now they're appealing it. And so the Department of Education's appealing it. And so we'll have to see where that goes. But the only problem with the appeal is going to take time. We're talking months. And so we know in January, that's when people will have to start paying their student loans back because it's been on forbearance for all this time. So what will happen if we get to January and now you have people are in limbo? Now they're paying back their student loans and they're thinking, well, is it going to be canceled or not? And so one of the things that the federal government was saying, one of their options is to basically have some type of an emergency pause on the judge's decision, right? The judge in Texas, and basically say, hey, can we continue to move forward with what we've been doing and start issuing out some of these cancellations, which I don't think any judge is going to go for that, because if they do, like if this does go to the Court of Appeals and if the court sides with the plaintiffs in this situation, well, now what are they going to do? They've already started issuing out these cancellations of student loans. Are they going to say, well, now you owe the $10,000 back? So I don't see a judge doing any type of an emergency pause on this. I think what's going to happen, when I say emergency pause, I mean the judge ruled that, struck it down, said it was illegal. Do some type of an emergency pause on that so they can continue, so the federal government can continue moving forward with the student loan cancellation. I just don't see that happening. I don't think that's something that a judge would want to do. So it will go to the Court of Appeals. Depending on what comes out of that, it could even go up to the Supreme Court. So we could be looking at that situation there. And so it's interesting. You also have the plaintiffs here, and we'll go down here. Okay, here it is right here. One plaintiff did not qualify for the student loan forgiveness program because her loans are not held by the federal government, and the other plaintiff is only eligible for $10,000 in debt relief because he did not receive a Pell Grant. So it's interesting. So you have the two plaintiffs. One is saying, well, I don't have any federal loans, which when you look at it, if you have private loans, how are you going to get that forgiven? Like, is the federal government going to actually come out and, because it's easy for the president to say, okay, this is all federally backed stuff. So all we need to say is you don't have to pay us back. But the federal government can't tell a private loan, issuer, they don't have to pay that back. The federal government would have to actually come up with the money. And so this whole thing is, what's going on is they're not coming up with money up front. This is money that will, because if you owe your student loans, you have to pay your student loans off, right? Or you're paying your student loans off. That money goes to the federal government. That money won't be going to the federal government anymore. And that's why we're looking at the situation we're in. They're talking about the $400 billion. That's where the $400 billion is coming from. It's coming from the fact that if you have student loan debt right now, you're paying it off, and that money will go to the federal government. So hopefully that makes sense. So it's not up front; it's actually on the back end. And so this person, this plaintiff, their argument was, well, look, you're not allowing my loans, but you're allowing federal loans. Well, it does make sense to allow federal loans because you can't control these private loans. So that, and then you have another individual that says, you know what, look. $10,000, I can get $10,000, but I can't get the $20,000 because I didn't have a Pell Grant. So this person's actually, I mean, they could get 10,000, but now they're arguing against it, and so they might not get anything, right? So I mean, yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting argument, because if this were to be upheld, no one will get anything, right? And so that person would be a part of that not getting anything when they have an opportunity to get 10,000. But they're putting themselves in a situation where they might not get anything in return. And then moving forward with their argument, they're also arguing that they didn't have a chance to voice their opinion, okay, on this situation. And that's a big part of why, when it comes to money, fiscal stuff, Congress needs to be involved, because Congress, they represent the people. And so that gives us a voice that allows us to call up our congressperson and say, hey, I like this, or I don't like this, or this should be added to the bill, or this shouldn't be added to the bill. Now, I'm not saying that will actually do anything, but that's the way our government works. But if you have the president just declaring things, executive orders, and there's money involved in it, that's really a tricky situation. And so that's what they're arguing here, the Administrative Procedure Act. And so that's where we are right now when it comes to the federal student loans. And I don't know where we go from here when it comes down to it, because we're looking at a situation where this could take months. And so people could get to the point where they're going to have to start paying back their student loans before anything comes of this. So I will follow this. I will follow this story. So make sure you subscribe, hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified whenever I put out videos. But this is going to be one of those things, and it's unfortunate. Like I said, this is a political thing. Okay, this is just politicians saying, you know what, the president's trying to do this, so we're going to try to do the opposite, and we're going to fight it. And the American people get caught in between, and that's what's going on here. And so we'll have to see where it goes. And then there's another argument too, and I just thought about this. There's another argument for allowing the American people to speak on this and go to their Congress people and speak on it and have it go through Congress, because some people don't agree with this, right? There's some people that are saying, look, I don't want my tax dollars going to pay off these student loans. I didn't go to college. They should pay off their own loans. And so that could be an argument as well. You're not allowing for the American people on one side to say, hey, look, we don't agree with this and you shouldn't move forward with it. So that's another argument. And another thing to think about as well, if this is something that's going through the court system, why not try to pass it through Congress while in a lame duck Congress? You have an opportunity to do that. So we're going to have to see if they even move forward with that, because if they try to move it through Congress, then we'll really know how these politicians feel about this whole situation. So that could be something else that we see in the future. Congress and lame duck Congress. And when I say lame duck Congress, I mean Congress generally doesn't do anything right after a midterm. They'll wait until the new Congress comes in, because right now Democrats control the House and the Senate and the presidency, so they have an opportunity to move forward with something. So we'll have to see if they do move forward with this through Congress, and that they wouldn't be able to say anything. They wouldn't be able to use these same arguments. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you guys have any questions, post them down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.